Welcome to Informatica Powercenter demo session. So, okay, right. So it's like you're attending Informatica Powercenter. So this is the tool name. So coming to me, my name is Venkat. I have about 8 years of experience in data warehousing environment, data warehousing absolutely. And so I have in the last 7 years onwards, I have been working in Informatica Powercenter development. I mean, as a developer as well as an administrator. And so not only on Informatica Powercenter, I have worked on other tools also like Microsoft SSIS, right? And worked on slightly on data stage, right? Okay. And I worked even on Informatica Master Data Management and Cognos also. Okay, so slightly I went into other technologies, other tools also. And coming to the course session, so this course is completely into Informatica Powercenter. Informatica Powercenter. So this is the tool from Informatica Corp. So this is the tool from Informatica Corporation, right? And the prerequisite for learning this tool is like you require a strong knowledge on SQL, right? So if you have any PL SQL knowledge, that would be recommended, and Unix commands and Unix scripting. So these are the prerequisites, and the course is divided into different modules, right? So it's like you have the data warehousing module where the data warehousing concepts will be discussed. Informatica Powercenter developer activities, Informatica Powercenter administrator activities, and Unix programs or Unix commands and the scripting. And I'll teach you even the ETL testing part also. Okay, ETL testing part also. So it's like for the first, since Informatica Powercenter is mostly used in the data warehousing projects, right? So we are going to give you a heads up on like what is a data warehouse and what are the different fundamental parts we have within the data warehouse. For the first 3 days, we are going to understand only the data warehousing part. And then we'll walk into Informatica Powercenter activities, like the developer activities. Mostly it's like 19 sessions we have it. Okay, so 19 sessions we have only the developer activities, and the remaining 3 sessions we have it for administration, and you have 2 sessions for right, so Unix. And so testing, I don't go much into deeper way. So as a part of training, along with the unit testing, I'll discuss about the smoke testing, functional testing, right? So about these testing strategies, I'll discuss when we are going into the developer activities itself. Okay, so totally it's like 25 sessions we have it altogether. 25 sessions we have it. And as a part of the training program, BigClasses will be giving you the VMware software. So within the VMware, you'll be having this Informatica 9.5.1, so which is the version which you can practice. And within the Oracle, yes, with Oracle, and under the Windows environment, So as a part of the training, if you want to practice, yes. If you want to practice Informatica Powercenter, and all the lab sessions you can do here. Okay, you can see here there are multiple lab sessions are basically present. So you can practice all your lab sessions within the VMware, and you don't have any, basically it's like you have a lifetime access to this VMware. You can practice it anytime, and you can do that. Okay, so this is from BigClasses side, and you have the lifetime access. Okay, and Oracle is the database which we are going to take it, and as a part of the training, we are going to give you even the Oracle material also. So people who are not aware of, who are aware of other databases, not the Oracle, they can just practice these things. And so this will be highly useful for you for getting a strong knowledge on Oracle database. And we have different, different materials are available. Like so Oracle material, Teradata material, Informatica, Powercenter material, lab material, Informatica, interview questions, scenario-based interview questions. So these are all the different materials we are going to provide as a part of the training. So this is about how you have it. So as a part of the training, we are going to provide the materials on data warehousing, Informatica, Powercenter, Unix, right, and Teradata, as well as the Oracle material. Okay, so this is about how you have it. Okay, I think pretty much I have covered about prerequisites, the modules, number of sessions, the software, right? Yes, so that is about how you have it. So since as I told you, Informatica Powercenter, 80% of Informatica Powercenter is mainly used in the data warehousing project, and remaining 20% we are going to use that. They basically use it for the data migration project. So it is used in two kinds of projects. One is data warehousing, another one is data migration. So since most of the Informatica Powercenter percentage is on data warehousing, so we'll try to understand like the basic concepts, the fundamentals of the data warehousing, as I told you. So we are going to discuss, we are going to have 3 sessions on the data warehousing. Like we are going to discuss what is a data warehouse, what is the purpose of OLTP system, OLAP system, what is BI, right? So what are the different architectures that we have, which architecture is mainly used, what is modeling, what is the ETL strategies. So about these things we are going to discuss for the first 3 days. We'll start with Informatica Powercenter. So when you talk about Informatica Powercenter, it's like it is a data integration tool. It's a data integration tool which reads the data from multiple source systems, right? Transforms the data into homogeneous format. So the Informatica Powercenter is a data integration tool which reads the data from multiple source systems, transforms the data into homogeneous format, and loads the data into target systems at any speed. I'll just go over what is the data warehouse. So basically, when you take the data is present everywhere, right? So data is present everywhere, and this data is very important. Data is very important for any organization or any company. So when you have data is present everywhere, you can see, let us say we have an example of SBA system. So SBA system, basically it contains the data in multiple places. Let's say you have all the core banking transactions are stored in the SAP system, and all the insurance transactions are stored in mainframe systems, and you have all the credit card transactions are basically stored in the Oracle database. Okay, so since we cannot, the main purpose of storing the data is for the business analysis. Since it is very difficult to perform the business analysis when you have the data within the different applications. You can see here all the core banking transactions, like when you debit the amount or when you credit the amount, the data is stored here, and all the insurance transactions are basically stored here, and all the credit card transactions are stored here. So these OLTP systems, I mean these systems which carry out all the day-to-day transactions of the company, these are called as OLTP systems. Like they are online transactional processing systems. Online transactional processing systems. So these systems are basically backbone of any business, and they carry out all the business transactions of the business. So these OLTP systems basically it contains the current data, right? And it does not contain any integrated data. You can see here the data is split across multiple systems. You can see the data is present in SAP, mainframes, and the Oracle. Yes, you have the no integrated data is present, and different standards are present in each OLTP systems. Different standards are there, and different applications you have it, different places, and different technologies. Okay, so because of these limitations of the OLTP systems, we are not able to perform the effective analysis, because you have the current data is there. Current data in the sense only at present data, like the last 30 days data or the last 60 days data is present within the OLTP system. But when you wanted to perform the business analysis, you basically have to store you basically require the historical data. Okay, you require the historical data to analyze your business properly. Like you can compare your business with this quarter to last quarter, like this month to last month, or this year to last year, right? Last year, last quarter to this year, last quarter. So if you want to compare these things, you basically have to require the historical data, which is not present here. And the data is not integrated. You can see the data is split across multiple places. So because of these things, we cannot perform the business analysis properly. So what we are going to perform is that we are going to create a homogeneous data store called as a data warehouse, and we bring the data from multiple source systems into a single data store, which is called as a data warehouse. Okay, so this data warehouse is nothing but it's a process, or it is a theory. It's a process or theory that is proposed on top of the database, which is useful for the business analysis. Means you can create the data warehouse on top of any database, like Oracle, SQL Server. You can create the data warehouse on Teradata or Sybase, or you can create it on DB2. So you can create literally the data warehouse on any database that you have in the market. Okay. So you're going to store the data here, you're going to store the historical data, and when you have the data warehouse, basically you can perform the business analysis properly, and you can take the decisions upon that. So it's called as a decision supporting system. So how you are going to bring the data from different systems into the data warehouse? It is by using the ETL process. It is by using the ETL process we bring the data into the data warehouse. So this ETL process is nothing but data extraction, right? Data transformation, ETL, data extraction, data transformation, and data loading. So we extract the data from multiple OLTP systems. We transform that into a homogeneous format because we have different standards out there, and we load them into the tables of the data warehouse. So this process of ETL will be done by using the ETL tools. So as you are the ETL developer, by using these ETL tools, we are going to perform the process of ETL process. Right? So we have multiple ETL tools out there, like Informatica Powercenter, which is from Informatica Corporation. So we have a data stage, you have Oracle Data Integrator, right? And you have SSIS, Ab initio. So these are all the different other ETL tools that we have in the market, where their job is to perform the ETL process to load the data into the data warehouse. So once the data is loaded into the data warehouse by using these ETL tools, what we do is that we provide we are going to present the data in the form of reports by using the BA tool. So we have a layer called as a business intelligence layer. So within this business intelligence layer, we present the data in the form of reports, like by using the tabular format. We represent the data in tabular format or bar or graphical mode, graphs, right? We present the data in different formats and we create the reports. Okay, so how the reports will be created is that basically the data from the data warehouse will be selected. It will be selected and the data will be represented in the form of reports. Okay, so for creating these reports, we have multiple BA tools out there, business intelligence tools. Like you have Cognos is a business intelligence tool, right? MicroStrategy, Tableau, and you have SAP Business Objects. So, right, and etc. So these are all the different business intelligence tools which will present the data in the form of reports. Okay, so you have the BA developer here. So as a ETL developer, we are going to make use of this ETL tools for creating the ETL process to load the data into the data warehouse. So once the data is loaded here, the BA developer will make use of the BA tools in order to create the reports, and these reports will be accessed by the business users of the company and analyzes how the business is running. So this is pretty much on a higher level about how the data warehouse is there. So for performing this ETL process or for performing this data integration process, we basically use Informatica Powercenter for this. Okay, so Informatica Powercenter is basically a data integration tool which will read the data from multiple OLTP systems. It transforms the data into a homogeneous format and it loads the data into the tables of the data warehouse. So for creating this ETL process, we generally use Informatica Powercenter for that. So this ETL process in Informatica Powercenter, it is called as a mapping. It is called as a mapping. So what is meant by mapping? A mapping is nothing but it's a logical representation of a data flow, logical representation of the data flow from source to target. From source to target. So for creating this mapping, we require the source definition, we require the transformation rule, and we require the target definition. Okay, source definition is nothing but it's like the structure of the source. It's the structure of source. And transformation rule is nothing but it defines what kind of transformation you're going to use. It defines the transformation. And the target definition is nothing but it's the structure of target. So remember one thing, when you work with any ETL tool, basically we are going to work only with the structures, not with the data. So, I mean, when you run this ETL jobs, so basically the data from the source definition, which is nothing but the source, it will be retrieved, it will be transformed according to the transformation rule within the ETL memory, and it will be loaded. The data will be loaded into the target definition. So you're going to work only with the structures of the tables. Okay, so that is about how you have it. So let's say you have a table called as a employee table is there. So what is the structure of employee table? You have employee number, e-name, job, salary, and department number. So or else I can show you directly like how you have this within the tool itself. Okay, so I'm just opening the tool, so it may take some time. All right. So, and this Informatica Powercenter, there are two job roles. There are two job roles. Like one is like Informatica Powercenter developer, and another one is like Informatica administrator or the Informatica admin. So Informatica developer, he mainly focuses, I mean this job role is mainly focused on creating the ETL jobs, called as a mappings. Okay, and Informatica administrator, he is mainly focused on administering the administering the Powercenter tool, administering the Informatica Powercenter tool, right? So you can see here, when you talk about Informatica Powercenter developer, he is going to work predominantly on 4 client tools. There are 4 client tools are present, like you have Powercenter Repository Manager, Powercenter Designer, Powercenter Workflow Manager, and Powercenter Workflow Monitor. Okay. So as a Informatica Powercenter developer, you're going to predominantly work on 4 client tools. Okay. And as an Informatica administrator, there is a tool called as a web-based tool. It's a web-based tool called as Informatica Admin Console. So within this Informatica Admin Console, Informatica administrator is going to master all his administrator skills. Okay. And as an Informatica developer, you're going to work with all these 4 client tools that we have. So the repository manager, designer, workflow manager, and the workflow monitor. So we'll try to understand like how the 4 client tools are present in the current session. Okay. So the repository manager. So what is the purpose of this repository manager is that, so basically the repository manager is a GUI-based client tool. It's a GUI-based client tool where you can create the folders. Yes, you can assign the permissions to the. You can assign the permissions on the folder, right? And you can perform the migration activity. You can perform the migration activity by using the Powercenter repository manager. So you can create the folder. So when I say folder, what does the folder mean? So folder is nothing but it's a package or a container. It's a package or a container which contains the ETL programs. So when I say ETL programs, what does it mean? Let's say if we have created a folder called as a sales. So this will contain all the sales related ETL programs. When I create a folder called as a finance, it will contain all the finance related ETL programs. When I create a folder called as a shipments, it will contain all the shipments related ETL programs. So basically the data within the data warehouse, it is categorized according to the different subject areas. Different subject areas means all the sales data will be present in the sales tables, all the finance data will be present in the finance tables, and all the shipments data will be present within the shipments tables. Right or wrong? So the data within the data warehouse is categorized according to the different subject areas. So in the same way, within Informatica Powercenter also, the ETLs are also categorized according to the different folders. So when you create a folder called as a sales, so that will contain all the sales related ETL program. When you create a folder called as a finance, it will contain all the finance related ETL programs. When you create a folder called as a shipments, it will contain all the shipments related ETL programs. Okay. So in this way, you're going to categorize the subject areas within the Powercenter. Okay, so this is what you call it as a folder. So folder is nothing but it's a package or a container which contains the ETL programs. Okay, and you can assign the permissions to the folder. So what kind of permissions is that? Like you have the read permission, write permission, as well as execute permission. So read permission, write permission, execute permission, and these are the 3 kinds of permissions where you can give them on the folder. And we have the migration activity. Migration activity is nothing but basically within this data warehousing projects, we basically have 3 kinds of environments are there, like development, UAT, and production. So you can migrate your ETL programs from one environment to another environment by using the deployment. So you have something called as a deployment group. So using this deployment group concept, we can migrate the ETL programs from one environment to another environment, and these are the things that we perform within the Powercenter repository manager. So let's try to go into that. So Powercenter. So these are all the 4 client tools you can see. Repository manager, which is denoted by R. Designer denoted by D. Workflow manager denoted by W, and Powercenter workflow monitor denoted by M. Okay, so let's walk into first client tool like Powercenter repository manager. So I'll just connect to that. So I'm logging in as administrator. Okay, so that is about how you have the repository manager. So repository manager, it's a admin tool. Admin tool in the sense we create the folder, we are assigning the permissions to the users on the folder, and we perform the migration activities. So these are all these 3 things are basically they are the admin activities that you perform. So the Informatica administrator, he is going to work on Powercenter repository manager for the purpose of creating all these things. Okay, right? And the next one is like Powercenter designer. So what is meant by Powercenter designer? So this is also graphical user interface based client tool. As the name says, we are going to design the ETL programs. We are going to design the ETL programs called as mappings here. So what is meant by mapping? A mapping is nothing but it's a logical representation. Yes, it's a data flow. It's a logical representation of the data flow from source to the target. So this is what we call it as a mapping. And we are going to design those mappings within the Powercenter designer tool. So for creating the mapping, what do we require here? You can see here. For creating the mapping, you require the source definition, you require the transformations, and you require the target definition. Okay? Source definition, target definition, and the transformation logic, you require it. And within the designer also, you have multiple sub-components are there, like the source analyzer, target designer, and mapping designer. Okay, so source analyzer is nothing but it is used to import the source definition. And the target designer is used to import the target definition. And once you import the source definition and the target definition, you're going to create the mappings, ETL process called as a mapping. Okay, right? So these are the different components that you have within the Powercenter designer. So source definition can be imported, target definition has to be imported, and you have to create the mapping. So basically, how do you import this source definition and the target definition? So let us say if your tables are, let's say if you have the data within your relational tables and you wanted to migrate the data from one schema table to another schema table, or let's say from one database to another database. So how can you connect to the database from the Powercenter? It's like by using the ODBC connections, right? So as the name says, it's like open database connectivity. So by using this ODBC connections, we are going to connect to the database, and you can bring the structures of the tables into the Powercenter. So that is what you call it as a definition. So you can bring the definitions from the database into the Powercenter by using the ODBC connections. Okay, so using this ODBC connections, you can import the source, whatever the target that is required, you will import it, and then you create the mapping. Okay, so this is about how you have the Powercenter designer. And once you do with the mapping, once you create the mapping, for every mapping that you create, you need to create a task called as a session. For every mapping, you have to create a task called as a session. So this is a mandatory thing. Okay, it's a mandatory one where you have to create a session. Okay, so for every mapping, you have to create a session. So within this workflow manager tool, it's like you have also here some subcomponents are clear, like the task developer, and you have the workflow designer. So using the task developer, you're going to create the task. You can create the task called as sessions. Like a session is one of the tasks. We have multiple tasks there, like email task, command task, event wait, event trace, assignment task, decision task. There are multiple tasks there, but for every mapping that you create, you need to create a task called as a session. So what is meant by session? A session is a task which will run the mapping. Okay, which will run the mapping. So you're going to create the session within the task developer. So once the session is created, for running the session or for executing the session, you have to create something called as a workflow. Okay, so workflow is nothing but a start task. Workflow is nothing but a start task which runs any number of sessions or any number of tasks, which runs any number of tasks. So it can run any number of tasks. So in the same way, the workflow is a task which is used to run the session. So basically, workflow stands top on the hierarchy. So workflow stands top on the hierarchy, which will run the sessions. So what does the session will contain? Session is going to contain the mapping. Okay, so in order to run the ETL process, we have to create the mapping, we have to create the session, and we have to create the workflow. Okay, so when you run the workflow, it will run the session. So what does the session contain? It contains the mapping. Okay, so these are the different things that you create within the workflow manager. So once you run the workflow, then how can you check whether the workflow is running properly or not? So that is by using the Powercenter workflow monitor tool. So this Powercenter workflow monitor tool also, it is also a graphical user-based client tool. And using this tool, what we can do, we can basically gather the statistics. Like how the sessions and how the workflows are running. So you can check like how the sessions are running and how the workflows are running, or if there is any failure while running it, or if there are any error messages, right? Or if the sessions and the workflows are successfully running, how many records are loaded, or how many records are extracted, right? And how many records are rejected. So these kind of statistics you can basically check by using the Powercenter workflow monitor client tool. Even when you work in a support project, so for checking how the ETLs are running within the production environment also, we are going to use this workflow monitor tool for gathering all the statistics and for troubleshooting purpose. Okay, so you can check how many sessions are running, how many workflows are running, whether they are working properly or not, why they are failing, what is the reason for the failure, and what is the log information, at what time it is started, at what time it is ended, whether the workflow is taking long time or not, right? So what kind of error messages you got, whether it is the network issue or the Informatica issue or the Oracle issue. So these kind of statistics you can check basically by using the Powercenter workflow monitor tool. Okay, so Powercenter workflow monitor tool is useful for monitoring how your sessions and the workflows are running. Okay, so this is about the 4 client tools so that you have it. So as a Informatica Powercenter developer, you're going to work on all these 4 client tools so that you have it. So I'll just open, I have already opened this repository manager tool. You can see I'm just logging as administrator, but in the real time you'll be having your own username and the password for authentication purpose. You can see you have this is the Powercenter repository manager tool. The first thing that you have to perform is that you have to create the folder. So basically you have certain steps are there for creating the ETL program. Okay, for creating the ETL process, there are multiple steps are there. So what is the first step? It's like creation of the folder, right? And next one is like creating ODBC connections. So once you create the ODBC connections, what do? You're going to import the source definition. And then import the target definition. Right? And create the mapping. Yes. Once you create the mapping, what is required? Create the session. All right. Create the workflow. right? Assign the session to the workflow and run the workflow, monitor workflow. Okay, so these are all the different steps that you have to perform for creating the ETL process. For creating the ETL process, you have to create all these steps. So you can see here, the first step is like creation of the folder. You can create any number of folders here. Okay, so what is meant by folder? Folder is nothing but it's a package or a container where you can store all your ETL programs and you can categorize this. So let's say if you want to create all the finance related ETL programs, then I'll create a folder called as a finance. Okay, if I want to let's say create all the sales related ETL programs, you can create a folder called as the sales. And if you want to create operations, you can do it as a operations. Okay, right? So this is what you call it as a folder. And you can see there is something called as a deployment group. So once you create the folders here, you can migrate your ETL programs to another environment by using the concept of deployment group. Concept of deployment. So the migration activity is also be done by using the repository manager client tool. And remember one thing, you can see there is something called as a repository info_rep_ service. So this is nothing but a repository service. Repository service. So this repository service, as I told you, Informatica Powercenter is basically it's a service-oriented architecture. It's a service-oriented architecture where you have multiple number of services are present. Like for performing the data integration, you require two services like repository service and the integration service. So if you want to create any ETL program, first of all, you have to connect to the repository service. So this is one of the repository service that you have. You started connecting to it and you can create all the ETL programs of the folders here. Understood? So every ETL, every Powercenter client tool is associated with this repository service for the purpose of creating the ETL programs. Okay, so in the same way, every environment will have this repository service. Means you have one repository service for development, you have another repository service for UAT, and you will have another repository service for production. So in the same way, you're going to have even the integration service should also be there for development, UAT, and production. Okay, so all the development ETL programs will be there within one repository service. All the UAT ETL programs will be there in another repository service, and all the production ETL programs will be there in separate repository service. So whenever you wanted to migrate the ETL programs, you are going to perform the migration from one repository service to another repository service. Okay, so that is about how you do it. So once you create the folders here, the next step is that you go to the designer, and you can see here you can just go from one tool to another tool by using these buttons. So you can see R denotes the repository manager, D denotes the designer, W denotes the workflow manager, and M denotes the workflow monitor. Okay, so when I want to go to other client tool, just have to click this one. So it's a single sign-on, means it does not ask for any authentication again. So it's a single sign-on. So you can see source analyzer here, where you can import your source. It's basically used to import your source. Your source could be in database file, COBOL file, or the XML definition, right? And you have the target designer. So target designer is basically used to import the targets. So once you import the source and the target, you can perform the mapping. You can create the mapping by using the mapping designer. Okay, you can see here. So I have a sample mapping is there. You can see here. This is the mapping. This is what you call it as a mapping. Okay. Source definition. Invoice is the source definition, and you have the invoice_stg is the target definition. Okay. And you have the default transformation here called as a source qualifier. It's a default transformation for the relational tables. Okay. You can see. So you can import the source by using the source definition, and you can import the target by using the target designer. Once you import source and the target, you can create the mapping here. Okay, so basically designer is containing three panes. One is the workspace, where you can import the definitions and you can create the mapping. And you can see this is the navigator window where you have all the source definitions, all the target definitions, and all the mappings that you create. You can view all these things within this navigator window. And this is the output window where you can see the statistics. Means when you're validating some ETL program, whether it is valid or not, if there are any errors within this. So you can check basically by using this output window. So this is the output window which will give you the status notifications here. Okay, so this is about how you have the Powercenter designer. So it contains the components like source analyzer for importing the source, target designer for importing the target, and you have the mapping designer for creating the mappings. And you have multiple number of transformations are there. So you can see multiple number of transformations are there where each transformations will do a specific functionality. So multiple number of transformations are there. So the core, I mean the main purpose of Informatica Powercenter, the core part of Informatica Powercenter is understanding what are the transformations are going to work. Okay, so this is about how we have the Powercenter designer. And the next one is like workflow monitor, workflow manager. So you can see here, I just clicked on W, it went into the workflow manager here. So you can see here, here also you have three panes are there. One is like this is the workspace where you can create the workflows in the session, and you have the navigator window is there here, and you have the output window. Okay, so using the task developer, you can create that task called as a session. As I told you, for every mapping that you create, you have to create a session here. You have to create a section. So let us say you can see here, for every mapping that you create, you have to create a session here. Okay, so session is always associated to mapping, and once you create the session here, for running the session, you have to create something called as a workflow. So this is the workflow that we have, which is the start task. A workflow is nothing but a start task, which can run any number of tasks. You can see multiple number of tasks are there: session, command, decision, event wait, event raise, email, timer, assignment, control task. So multiple number of tasks are there. So this workflow is a start task. Start task. It can start any number of tasks, either parallelly or sequentially. Okay. So for every ETL program, for every mapping that you create, you have to create one session here. So that is important. Okay. So this is what you call it as a session. And when I'm running this particular workflow, you can see the workflow monitor got automatically open. You can see it is running. So the workflow is running as well as the session is also running. Okay, workflow has a particular log which will contain all the log details of the workflow, and in the same way you have the session also contains the log. Session also contains the log, and it contains the detailed information like what happened over the session execution. Means how many records are extracted, what records are extracted, whether there are any errors or not. So it contains every information. So the session log details contains every information that is there. Okay, and you can even gather the statistics here. You can see here. So you have 200 records are there. 200 records are not loaded. You can see there are the data rejection is there. Yes, the data is rejected, and in case of any rejections, you can see the data why it is rejected. Okay, why it is rejected means you have to access the session log. Okay, so you can see unique constraint is violated. What is meant by unique constraint violated? It's like the data is already present within the target and you're trying to load the same data, so that is the reason the data is rejected. So unique constraint violated. So these kind of things basically you can see them by using the workflow monitor window, workflow monitor client tool. Understood? So that is about how you have the different client tools that you have within the Powercenter. Okay, so as a Informatica developer, you're going to predominantly work on all these 4 client tools that we have it. Okay, and as I told you, right, you have another role is also present like Informatica administrator. So Informatica administrator, he is going to work on a web-based client tool called as a Informatica admin console. So this Informatica admin console, after 9 version, it is called as a Informatica administrator. Informatica administrator, I'll just open it directly. So using this Informatica administrator, you can basically perform all the admin related activities. So I'll just show it like how it is present. It's a thin client where you can open it by using any client tool. Sorry, any web browser like Internet Explorer or Mozilla Firefox or Google Chrome. Yes, you can do it by using any web-based tool. So I'll log in as administrator. Okay, see here. So this is the Informatica administrator. So what do you do administration in the sense? So the Informatica admin is a person, is a role who is responsible for installation of the Powercenter. Okay, upgradation. I think you know what is upgradation means. So let's say you have within your company you have 9.1 is a version that you have. So you wanted to upgrade to 9.5. So you do not require a free, you do not require a fresh installation. You just have to upgrade to 9.5. So upgradation of Powercenter, right? And creation of users, right? Creation of roles, groups, all right? And creating the folders, migration activity, assigning the permissions, right? And creation of different services, right? Like the repository service, right? Repository service, integration service. Okay, we can create multiple services here, and assigning the permissions. You can perform the migration activity, taking the backups, yes, restoration, right? So these are all the admin related activities as an Informatica administrator you have to perform. Okay, installation, upgradation, creation of the users, roles, groups, folders, migration activity, assigning the permissions, right? Creation of the different services, and backups and restoration. So these are all the admin related activities where you have to perform as an Informatica administrator. So you can see here. So the core part of Informatica Powercenter is a domain. So within this domain, you have to create all these services. Means when you're installing Informatica Powercenter, you're nothing but you're setting up the domain. Okay. For each environment, you have a separate domain will be there. For each environment, you have a separate repository service as well as the integration services there. Okay. And you can create the security by using by creating different users here. You can see these are all the different users so that you have it. Different users are there. Okay, and different groups are also present. Support group, development people. So all these are categorized into different groups, and the log information is also present here. So you can check the logs. So like if the particular service is not if a particular service is down, why it is down, what is the purpose of that. So you can check all the log information by using this logs tab. Okay, so this is about how you have the Informatica administrator admin tool. Okay, so it's like one more thing is that this Informatica Powercenter is from Informatica Corporation. And you have multiple tools are there from Informatica Corporation, like Informatica Powercenter is the tool, Informatica Data Quality, you have Master Data Management, Informatica Master Data Management, and you have Informatica B2B Data Exchange, right? You have Informatica Power Exchange, and Ultra Messaging System, Informatica Cloud. So multiple tools are there which are acquired by Informatica Corporation, right? So this Informatica Corporation is founded in 1992 in the Redwood city of Los Angeles, and this is about it. And you can see here, so Powercenter is like, what is the purpose of Powercenter? It is useful for data integration. It is a data integration tool which is mostly used in the data warehousing projects. And data quality. So what is the purpose of data quality? The main purpose of data quality is for the data profiling. Okay, so checking the quality of data, which is called as a data profiling. And you have a master data management, which is also an emerging tool that you have it currently. So this master data management is like managing the master data. Managing the master data. So managing the master data in the sense, let's say you have here. So within the data warehouse, what kind of data you have? You have we are more concentrated on metrics, okay, or the measures. Means what is the total revenue? Yes, what is the total revenue, and what is the average profit, right? So what is the profit you got? What is the loss, right? So these things are called as measures. So data warehousing mainly concentrates on these measures. Okay, but you have a master data management which concentrates on the non-measurable data or non-measures, like the customer information, the customer number, customer data, yes, customer information, employee information, product information, yes, and the accounts information, channels information. So master data management is more concentrated on the non-measurable data that you have it within the business. And you have a B2B business data exchange, you have a Power Exchange. So Power Exchange is nothing but, so basically Informatica Powercenter by default it can read the data from databases, it can read the data from flat files, right? And it can read the data from XML files as well as COBOL files. So when you have the data in the special sources like SAP, or when you have the data in let's say Facebook or Twitter, right, or LinkedIn and AS400. Okay, so when you have the data in these kind of special sources, basically Powercenter cannot alone read the data from these kind of sources, right? So you need Powercenter along with the Power Exchange for reading the data from the special sources that you have it. Okay, so that is the purpose of Power Exchange that is there. And Informatica Cloud is like accessing the data from the cloud is the Informatica Cloud that you have it. Okay, so that is about how you have it. And one more important thing is that as a part of the training program, I mean, we are going to understand the Informatica Powercenter with a sales case study. So it is the case study which we are going to understand. Okay. And when you are going with this sales project, it's like you will understand like what is your role and responsibilities as an ETL developer, as an Informatica developer, and how the Informatica project lifecycle will be there, right? And all your roles and responsibilities you are going to understand by using this sales case study that you have it. Okay, so we are going to understand that by using the retail project, which is nothing but a sales case study, and so it's like a real-time project that we have. So where we have multiple stages are there. Okay, so we have the OLTP tables are present within the OLTP system, like multiple tables are there, like you have the customer table, you have the employee table, you have the store.txt, right, purchase orders .xml, you have orders .txt. So you have the employee table, right, and you have items table is there, and you have product table, okay, invoice table, right. So these are all the different OLTP tables are there, which contains the transactional data. So what we do is that in the first stage, we'll use Informatica Powercenter as the ETL tool, in order to get the data into the staging area. So we get the data into the staging area. Once the data is loaded to the staging area, then we load the data into the OLAP region. So which is nothing but a data warehouse. So for every table, we have a corresponding staging table will be there, like a customer STG, you have employee underscore STG, you have a store underscore STG, purchase order underscore STG, yes, order underscore STG, right, employee underscore STG, items STC, right? So these are all the different staging tables are there where you have to load the data. Okay. So since I told you like it's a sales project that we are going to do, sales case study, it's more likely like the real-time examples you have it. And when we are loading the data from the OLTP to the staging area, so we'll create like up to altogether we create like a 14 mappings we are going to create for loading the data into the staging area. So once the data is loaded into the staging area, so taking the staging area as a source, we'll again use Informatica Powercenter to load the data into the OLAP region. So within the OLAP region, we have multiple dimension tables are there, like invoice dimension, and you have employee dimension, customer dimension, and employees dimension. You have items dimension, yes, product dimension, and we'll load the data into what is that? Sales fact table. Okay. So how we are going to load the data from staging area to the dimension table? We'll use SCD types here. So slowly changing dimensions. We are going to use it slowly changing dimension scenarios, and we load the data into different dimension tables as well as the fact table. Okay. So this is the architecture of the sales case study which we are going to perform as a part of the training program. So when we are doing this sales case study itself, we'll understand like what are the different transformations that we have, what are the different transformations, what are the different transformation strategies, right? And how do you perform the incremental loading, how do you perform the incremental extraction, and what are the different tasks that we have, and how the tasks are used, and how do we schedule the ETL programs, what are the different ways of scheduling, and how do we migrate the ETL program. So about all these things we are going to perform when you are doing this project. Okay, so that is about how you have it. And I'll just show you the syllabus that we have. So you can see here. So we are going to understand Informatica Powercenter with a project implementation. So you can see these are all the different ETL programs that we are going to do it. Okay. So incremental extraction, incremental loading, and what are the different tasks that we have: sessions, email task, decision task, right? And the scheduling will perform the migration activity, code migration, performance tuning. So these are all the different things that we do as a part of the training. Okay, so this is about how we have the demo session. Yes. All right. So any questions?
In this diagram, I have seen that in the OLAP, invoice dimension, EMP dimension tables are there. So these are the part of the Informatica. These tables are of Informatica.
No. See, Informatica is a tool. Informatica Powercenter is a tool. What do we do with that is that you perform the data integration. You can see, right? So you perform the data integration. Data integration in the sense from one place to another place, how you are going to transform the data is done by using the Informatica Powercenter. Okay, transformation of the data. Okay, migrating the data from one place to another place. So in the same way, within the database you have multiple tables are there. Okay, within the database you have three schemas. OLTP is one schema, staging is one schema, and OLAP is another schema. Three schemas are there. Okay, within these three schemas you have multiple tables are there. These are all the OLTP tables. These are all the staging tables. These are all the OLAP tables. So all these tables are present within the database. So using Informatica Powercenter, what you do from the OLTP, you capture the data and you load the data into the staging tables. And from the staging tables, you load the data into the dimension tables and the fact tables. So this is what you perform it.
Okay. This means all the tables are in the database also. If we will take Oracle database, then we have to pick the data from the database and transform and it to back to the database.
Yes. See here, you have the invoice is the table is there. So this is present within the database, and you have invoice underscore HTC. So this is also present within the database. Then why we are creating this ETL program is that you want to read the data from this invoice table and load the data into the invoice underscore HTC table. So this is what your agenda. So that is the reason you're creating the mapping, and when you're running this mapping, the data will be extracted from this invoice table and it will be loaded into the invoice underscore HTC table. Okay, so this is the ETL process that we are creating using Informatica Powercenter. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Right.
And I have a question regarding the mapping. When we go to the mapping and when we add one transformation to the mapping, how do we validate the map, the transformation is going to work or not? Can we see some data, how is it going to be looks like before running it?
Yes, we can do that. It's by using the debugger. So you can see, right? You have something called the debugger.
Okay.
So you can basically debug any mapping. So if you're not getting any data that you are expecting to do to come within the target, you can use this debugger for debugging the map. So you can check how the data is traveling from source to the target. If any particular transformation is there, like how it is traveling from and how it is getting transformed, you can check that by using this debugger. You can see here.
Can we view the data?
Yes, you can do that. See here. So this is the first row. So everything in Informatica Powercenter is on a row by row basis. You read the data, you read one row, you transform one row, and you load one row. Okay, see here. So this is the first row that is extracted. When I click on F10, it will just go to the source qualifier, and it will go to the target. When I click on F10, yes, you can see it is loaded to the target. So second row is there. Second row is inserted. F10, it is inserted. You can see this is how the data is.
Is it actually inserting the data to table, or is just showing it?
See, you can do it either way. Either you can insert the data or you can discard the data also. But it will show. It will show the data. You can either, the time you're setting up the debugger itself, you can keep the option for discarding the data.
Venkat, this is.
You can see here, discard target data. Means it will not load the data. Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
What is that it for?
Yeah, Venkat, this is Lokesh. I have a question. So you said there will be a VMware installed, like VM installed on our machines, and then so VM means like we will be having a virtual system on our machine, which will be having the software in there, right?
Yes, correct. That's true.
But not the actual software. It's like a virtual machine in which we will be having a software, correct?
Correct, correct. So you have a virtual, this is your mission. Within this, we'll have the VMware. So when you open this VMware, you have Informatica Powercenter. Within the Windows environment, you have it. Informatica Powercenter with Oracle Windows environment. You have this.
Okay, and that after 2 months or 1 month or 30 sessions, that will still stay. We don't need any like authentication or some kind of stuff which goes to your like your source or your server. So that will be ours.
No, so
right?
It's completely independent to your system. It's completely independent. You have the lifetime access to this. It's completely independent. There is.
In that one, we will be having some some data, like some database, dummy database, which we can work with if we want to.
Yes, yes. See, I'm going to send you the script. The architecture which I have shown you, right? So this is the architecture which I have shown you. Correct or not? Yes. This is the architecture. So this table structures. Okay, once the VMware is installed, this table structures, I'm going to send it. See here, info material, you have scripts, you have 3 schemas, 3 table structures are there, 3 schemas table structures. So you have to create them within the database of your VMware, and then you can start creating the ETL programs. Okay.